welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to bring you the most requested video so far, a day in the life of a PT aide. So in this video, I go through my morning routine and I gave you all a tour of the clinic where I work. I couldn't necessarily film everything because of privacy. Thank you all so very much for your patience. It is quite a steep learning curve and I'm trying to learn editing. I've never done video editing, so I wanted to let you know. Who looks good in the morning? Not me. It takes work. It takes work. So, just a heads up, we're about to get into it. So first in the morning I wake up. This is my cat BB. She usually sleeps with me. Then I head to the bathroom and I look haggard and I just try to wake up. Oh my goodness. I throw my hair up in a bun just to get it out of my way while I'm doing my morning routine. I go ahead and brush my teeth. And after I'm done brushing my teeth, I go ahead and go in, open my blinds, and make my bed. I do this every single day. It just helps me get centered and start the day, but you can see my cat is there in my way, so I just kind of fold it over and let her stay there. I realize my clothes weren't in my dresser. I go to my closet and ta-da, found them. I'm dressed, I need to do my hair. Usually I'm running late for time, so head to the bathroom. I spray my hair with this dry shampoo for blonde hair, and I just work that through with my fingers, make sure that it doesn't look too greasy in the front especially. Then I go ahead and brush my hair, part it, all that good stuff, decide on what I want to do with it for today because it doesn't listen to me sometimes, but I did a low bun. And I just pull out the front strands, bobby pin it so that it doesn't fall out while I'm at work because I really don't have time to do my hair while I'm there. And then I go ahead and set it with some hairspray. After that, I do my eyebrows. I really only ever do my eyebrows and mascara anyway. Sometimes I'll put on like a powder, but it depends on the day. So I use a thin eyebrow pencil to just outline my eyebrow first, and then I'll go into certain places and define it. But then I bring in a darker, like thicker pencil to just fill it in. And I brush them, make sure it's all good. Go ahead and curl my eyelashes. Typically after I'm done with that, I put on my mascara, and I just use an Ulta mascara. It works really well for me. I try not to wear it too much, and of course I drop it, but it didn't get on me. Everything was fine, and we just went back to it. So I always take women's multivitamin gummies in the morning. I just take 2. Go ahead and put my earrings in because I like to accessorize, and I have my doubles and a cartilage piercing. I put on a little bit of perfume, not too much because we don't want to like suffocate patients when we're that close in proximity. These are my New Balance shoes that I wear to work. They're actually really comfortable. They have great support, but they aren't too bulky for me either. And then I say goodbye to BB. She's so cute. I make sure to grab my AirPods and my water bottle, and I say goodbye to my girls, and then I head downstairs. First things first, I fill up my water bottle with ice. I love ice. I use way too much of it. I always keep a full water bottle with me everywhere I go. And for breakfast, I had steel cut maple and brown sugar oatmeal. It's not the healthiest, but I'm always rushing for time in the morning, so I go ahead and put that in for 2.5 minutes, and then while that's cooking, I start to make my iced coffee. And my dad has his days off when I go to work. We typically spend the morning together. Yeah.
Like them?
Thanks.
Like them?
I do. They're super comfy. More ice. Yeah, And here I'm just pouring my coffee. I use a little bit of dark chocolate almond milk and a splash of sugar-free hazelnut creamer. And the straw is way too short, so I go ahead and trade it out. We have a ton of straws, so I just go ahead and find a new one. Go ahead and grab my oatmeal. It's way too hot. Yep, gotta use a towel. And then I have my breakfast. Say hi. First thing that you'll see when you walk in is that we have to take our patient's temperature. We give them a mask and ask them to use hand sanitizer. Our rooms for patients are on the right. We have 4 of them, and then this is our little workout area. We have bands on this pole. And then we have a squat rack. There's our total gym, and then that's for our hand patients, so we just let them sit at the table since they don't take up too much room. That's where we do pull downs and rows. This is the station that we're at the most because these are where the patients' stim pads are kept and where we keep track of time and keep track of when our patients are coming in. So we have a binder right there. These are the stim pads for the electrodes. And every patient has their own. We don't use them for different people all the time. So that's our little station, and we use a ton of hand sanitizer all the time. We keep our water and coffee on hand. But as you keep going into the practice, you'll see we have a ton of yoga balls everywhere. We have an internal-external rotation machine for elbow. Have a whirlpool, and I wasn't used to a little whirlpool like this. It's so tiny and cute, but yeah, it works for our patients. Then we have a trampoline, and we also have a balance machine there on the right with the walker. It's for some people that are just trying to regain stability, and we have them do a little program on that computer. It's like a video game, so that's pretty fun for them. And then as you go more towards the back, you'll see on the left we have our game ready machines and our mat. So sometimes we'll have people do exercises on the mat and then we'll do treatment after. We have an upper body cycle there on the right hand side. There's all our ankle weights on the wall. And then we have a trunk rotation machine, 2 bikes, and then there in the corner is the elusive Biodex. So I've never seen one of these in person before I started working here. I always studied it for my classes, and it's helpful for strengthening. It basically is like a proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation machine, PNF patterns. It also measures muscle strength. This is a better way of doing these PNF patterns that are typically between a clinician and a client because the computer is more accurate and it will provide the proper amount of force for the client. These are what our rooms look like. There's a table, and we typically keep lotion and a heater on the wall for when we do our ultrasounding, and we're constantly changing out towels and sheets, and we have a heating pad on there. So here we have a stim machine on the left. We go from 80 to 150 hertz. We keep it on interferential and constant, and then this is our ultrasound machine. So we typically ultrasound for 8 minutes at 1.5 watts per centimeter squared. And that's the ultrasound wand. So coming back to the Game Ready, this is a machine that's really cool. It basically is like there's ice water in the back. And I'm showing you guys here. We actually just freeze water bottles over and over again rather than having to keep adding ice. So we make sure that it's turned all the way down to 1 degree, low pressure, and for 15 minutes. What happens is water goes through here, and then attached right now is something for a patient's leg. Typically we use this for knee patients, and it just wraps around them. And then when we hit start, the ice water goes into the sleeve and it actually contracts as well. So typically when I come in, I set my things down in the break room and I put my lunch in the fridge. I bring my coffee and my water out to the station, and then I go ahead and take a look at our schedule. Now typically our schedule is divided into mornings and afternoons, and mornings are typically more busy. Sometimes we can see anywhere between 20 to 24 patients in the morning alone. So, oh my gosh, that is a lot of people, and sometimes it gets really crowded. But one thing that's great is that our schedule tells us what kind of therapies the patients need. That way we can plan around who's going to be using what equipment at what time. So sometimes when patients come in, we start them off on exercises, or sometimes we'll start them off with their therapy. When we bring patients back, we take their temperature, we make sure they're wearing a mask, and we ask that they use hand sanitizer just to make sure that all of our patients and all of the PT aides and our physical therapists are as healthy and as clean as possible, because COVID is happening right now and we are in a medical environment, so we're very cautious of that. PT aides jump between patient to patient. So when I bring somebody back, I'm not seeing them through their whole way. We have about 3 or 4 PT aides on the floor or on a shift at a time, and we all just kind of transfer between patients and make sure that they're doing their exercises correctly. We'll help them onto their next exercise, or we'll trade out when they're getting their modalities or their treatment. So somebody might set them up with stim, and then their timer goes off 15 minutes later, and then I will go in and ultrasound. So I have been talking about 3 or 4 devices a lot in this video, and that's stim or electrical stimulation. We have ultrasound, then we have the Game Ready and the Biodex. Now the Game Ready and the Biodex, I know I went into a lot of detail with in the video itself, but I wanted to give you guys kind of an idea about the stim pads and the ultrasound. So stim, a lot of people know it. You can actually buy your own personal, I forget what everybody else calls it. I just call it stim. You can buy your own, and basically it's these sticky square pads that you plug into wires, and what happens is that when you turn up the voltage, the electricity, then the pads will send a signal from one to the other, and depending how you set them up, it can target different areas. So you can put them in specific patterns in order to, like if you have 4 in a square and you have the positive and the negative lead opposite each other in the square, then it will target the center. Or if you have a positive and a negative and a positive and a negative, then the electricity will be flowing this way. So we typically do that on like the paraspinal muscle, so the spinal cords in the center. We will put 1 and 1 and then 1 and 1 here. We don't want to crisscross because we don't want to mess up the spinal cord whatsoever. We don't even go near that. So if you guys have any more questions about stim, go ahead and let me know. My air conditioning is kicking on. The other modality that we use a lot is called ultrasound, and this is something that I have been doing a lot since I got here. And basically what ultrasound does is there's a little quartz rock that vibrates in the head of the ultrasound wand that I showed you guys in the video, and basically it's like if we were to compare it to a stim pad, it's like we have the positive lead in the wand and your body is the negative lead. So if we have a body here, we need something that is going to allow that electricity to flow from the wand to the patient. So we use lotion as a lubrication to help that happen. So if I have a patient here, I'm going to put down a lot of lotion. It gets everywhere, but it's worth it because you don't want to dry out the skin, cause burn or anything. So then you use the wand and you go in slow circular motions. But the key is not to hit the same spot too many times, because basically what it does is it cooks you from the inside out. So there is a little bit of risk involved in ultrasound if you're not doing it correctly, which is why you do have to be trained in order to use ultrasound. And I was very lucky. My undergrad trained me for that, so thank you to my school and everybody that taught me that. So I've been ultrasounding like crazy. Typically when patients do their treatment, they get stim first, and then what happens is once we put those stim pads on the affected area, we either put a heating pad over them or we use that Game Ready machine that I described for that ice effect. So it depends on what their injury is and what the goal is, but they usually sit there with stim and either ice or heat for about 15 minutes. After that, if they don't have any metal implants or like a hip or a knee replacement, then we can do the ultrasound, because if you think about ultrasound like a microwave, you don't want to microwave metal, right? So if somebody has a knee replacement, I'm not going to do ultrasound over that knee replacement. It will burn their tissue and it will cause an internal burn. So we don't want to do that at all. So yeah, we typically see about 20 to 24 patients in the morning, and then we have an hour and a half lunch. It is a really long lunch, so typically people will study or go home, take a nap, come back, have lunch, all of that, and then we start our afternoon. And in the afternoon it's a bit slower, and I'd say we see anywhere from about 17 to 22 patients in the afternoon. I think the biggest thing about the job was learning to communicate with others and learning their thought process, because I'm not familiar with the patients like they are. So they know what each patient needs to do in what order, and they can figure out how that fits in with the other patients we're trying to treat at the same time. So there's a lot of juggling, a lot of communication happening, and I'm really lucky that all of my coworkers are so nice. They don't mind that I ask questions at all. They would prefer I ask questions, and I would prefer to ask questions than hurt somebody or do the wrong treatment or mess anything up. So I'm always asking questions. We have a lot of patients come in, right? I mentioned that, but typically, let's see, we have like 3 or 4 patients coming in every half hour. So at max, we could have 8 people in a new hour, but that doesn't mean that the people prior left. So let's say we have 3 people come in at 8 a.m. and then we have 4 people come in at 8:30. By the time the 9 o'clock patients are coming around, if the 8 a.m. patients aren't done, we still have them there. So it's kind of like this building effect and this exponential effect. Basically, if we don't organize or communicate well, then there could be a huge backup, and there's only so much equipment and there's only so many rooms. So we really have to be on top of our game.
Hey y'all, I just realized I did not film an outro. So here's a picture of me on my first day. I don't use a stethoscope from day to day, but it's real cute and I will use it in the future for my future job. Anyways, thank you all so very much for watching. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe.